All right, we're gonna call Economic and Development Committee to order. Please note that all members are present. Item number 40, resolution to approve the purchase of real estate located at 7220 West National Avenue. Is there a motion, Attorney Decker? We got your email, I'm assuming you got email. I know part of that's part of admin, but does anyone have anything? Wayne, do you have anything you need to add?
Yeah, so if the chairs are right, I sent the email with the update to that. If anyone has any questions on it, I'm happy to do that. But a brief overview just for the public's benefit is that the property itself was found by our architect to not be quite as large as it would need to be to make it easy to switch. But it was also a very preliminary review. It was under a lot of pressure to get that done by the time of tonight's meeting. And so it still remains, in my opinion, a good investment for the asset that stays required potentially certainly moving one, either the SKU center or health department to that building. And then the potential of moving the other one if a proper arrangement can be made where it can be divided into 2 units and both services will fit within that building, or in addition, or a second level can be built. Either way, that building is in a much better condition. Parking is more available. It's centrally located. It's on the same bus routes. It would require less ongoing maintenance, and the city would avoid over $1 million deferred maintenance, whichever service goes to that building. Still think it's a good investment. I'm really open for questions you might have. We do need a decision tonight because our emergency's expired at midnight, so I have to get back to the brokers by tonight.
Motion to approve. Second. Is there any? Yes.
So I think the original understanding was to move health and senior, both. Turns out it's likely, very likely not big enough. That's the understanding. A couple questions came up, and my understanding, there are some buildings around the city that are built to accommodate the second floor, foundations and such. I know the General Capital Building on 7th Washington is built that way. Do we know if this building would accommodate that? I guess we don't.
Do you want an attorney's opinion on that, or an engineer's?
I'd rather have,
I don't know whether Dave or Dan.
yeah, do we know? I mean, do we have,
I don't think it was designed for a second floor, just from the looks of it. But,
right.
and like I said, when we looked at the building seemed to be in very good shape for it was 23 years old. But never looked at it. I don't think it was ever designed for a second floor. It's good depending on what it's. So.
And then other questions follow that. If it's bigger than we need for either of the uses, could we let out a portion of it? I mean, would that be a way to help cash flow the thing, or property tax relief, or do we want to be landlords? Get a chance to get into the building. I don't know. I mean, last time was there was for us attorney express. But is there a way? Would that be something on the table? With, and I understand it would be on this side, the office parking is very small. Or if it's, let's say it's senior center, take on more responsibility. I know the county's closing senior centers. They don't even really have one on this side of town. I think that's why ours is so well used. But I'm just trying to look at other options on it. In my head, I was under the impression that the health department was going to be more important. So I'm trying to have it make sense to the health department. If there's excess space there, what will we do with it? I mean, we wouldn't be moving anybody else out here, this building, to the works building. I don't know. I'm just trying to have it make sense.
So, sure. So the question is a very good question in that usually when you acquire a building, you know exactly what you're doing. In this case, the idea is that the building is under contract for a very fair price, a very good price, and acquiring an asset like this for that price is very difficult to do again in the future. So even without having a very specific and use and design. Might be worth acquiring if we get the idea of, we know we have the ability to use this space, it's just more of the council ultimately deciding how you want to use the space in the future. The way the building is currently set up, it would be relatively not difficult to move the health department there, because it's already set up, which is a clinic, or offices, civil services is a health department, so it would be easier as far as tenant improvements go, or improvements to the building, to move the health department there. The senior center building is probably in more dire need, but the health department building also has its needs right now as well. Either one, if you would move either service there, you would save, I think it's $1.5 or $1.3 million depending on which one you move, so it's still a significant savings for maintenance. You also get a chance then to design something to specifications, and one of the buildings would then be subject to being sold and developed, which should all be advantageous for the city. It's not as advantageous as we originally wanted, at least doesn't appear in space. But that initial analysis by Grave was basically just doing a plus and minus based on the staff identified as activities they would need. There wasn't a lot of analysis performed as to whether the same space could be used for multiple reasons. There wasn't a lot of analysis by Grave, at least as to whether the space that was designed and seems to be used a certain way is still needed in a new building, or if it could be shrunk. It's the same thing, the same room for 4 different activities, but right now there's 4 different rooms. Those are the types of things that would take a lot more time for an architect to look at and really decide. But that on the option of potentially doing a condition, I think makes the building a good purchase, a good asset to hold, because again, probably would be an opportunity if it's in that location for this price, with that type of building, maybe.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I guess I'm maybe just going to echo some of what you said. I think that it's a good risk, not even a risk, I mean, because the price is very fair. And I'm not 100% convinced that with some creative spacing, potentially, that it could work out. So I think for whichever use or both uses, it's, I think, still a good purchase overall.
And there was a motion and second, is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Alright, number 41, expanding housing choice, housing mobility programs. I'm gonna turn this over to staff and Megan and or Stephanie.
That sounds great. I'm Stephanie Evans with the Metropolitan for Housing Council. I am the Senior Administrator of the Inclusive Communities Program, where our Housing Mobility Program is.
I'm Megan Waukee, I'm the Senior Administrator of Urban Services with the Council.
And I've been learning council to be brief. So we are going to speed through the first couple slides of the presentation, because y'all are familiar with the Fair Housing Council. What we do. So, what is the Housing Mobility Program? So we are the only housing mobility program in the state right now, and we help income families with children who are under the age of 17 use housing choice vouchers to move from low income, concentrated poverty neighborhoods and census tracts into high opportunity areas in the county. Those neighborhoods are often going to be more racially and socially diverse. We're going to have better performing schools, lower crime rates, and more resources. And basically what the evidence has demonstrated through the choice mobility demonstration programs is that many low-income families are going to want to move to high opportunity, but are going to be prevented because of high housing costs, inability to navigate these spaces, and just a shortage of building landlords is really what we see the most of. And so the why of why we do this is because whether a child grows up in a low to moderate income or a middle class family, if they're growing up in a neighborhood where more of the adults are working than not working, it's going to have a bigger impact on their earning potential. They're going to graduate from high school, go out to college more often, and they're going to have better health outcomes. And so really why we do this is to make a change for the family in the immediate, but to really impact the upward mobility of those kiddos in that household is why we focus on the Section 8 families with kiddos under the age of 17. You're all familiar with these maps. What I think is important for these two slides is as we look at the racial segregation in the city and the county as well, you're really looking at the earning potential of those households really overlapping with those segregated and low-income neighborhoods. So where you live in the city really is going to impact your future. Lots of history on this slide, basically to say that there are public housing authorities who sued in the 70s because of the location and placement of public housing sites were in concentrated poverty, low-income communities. And so the first housing mobility programs were a legal remedy to intentionally work towards undoing some of the purposeful racial segregation that had happened in public housing over the decades. These are all of the mobility programs in the United States right now. We are a member of the Mobility Works network, and so there's a variety of funding sources, there's a variety of service models, but really the ones that have been around for a very long time, LA, Dallas, and Chicago are kind of the gold standard, and Baltimore Regional Housing, whatever they are actually the gold standard for the service model and what they do, and they do a lot of evidence-based research into what targeted interventions are working, why they're working, and really focused on health outcomes with their system. And so why the service model is designed this way is we are looking at, helping our families get better access to resources, improve living conditions, in addition to social and economic mobility. And I think this runs through the service model. I'm happy to answer questions about how we do housing navigation services, what support we provide to our clients, but I know this is mostly targeted towards the landlord outreach and the efforts that we're making there. So if you have any specific questions about how we help our families, absolutely happy to answer those directly. But there's flexible family assistance, housing navigation services, housing search support, all that sort of stuff that is specific to each individual family. And then in the background, we also have a video with client testimonials that after this meeting this evening, we'll definitely send you out the link with the materials and the presentation if you have any other questions. But so what we have been doing, so the two handouts that you have, this is the one that goes out to our participants, and then this is the one that we use for our landlord outreach. In addition to using this in our mailers, we also hand this to our clients so that when they're having communications with landlords who may be less familiar with the Section 8 program, they have something to hand them. But the top two on there are going to be the lift information. So we work hand in hand with Allis at the county, who runs their landlord incentives fostering tenancy, right there on the slide. And so that is their new program to recruit new providers to all of their voucher programs, not just necessarily the Section 8 program. And so what Alexi and I have done is held joint meetings in communities that we're targeting that are high opportunity to do direct mailers to every single duplex in the community that we're targeting. Because what we find is a lot of the bigger actors in town don't care about the additional funds and supports and things that we provide, but looking at smaller duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes to increase and access affordable housing in each and every high opportunity community we have is really the low-hanging fruit. And so that's what we're really trying to do, is to target those individuals to do presentations with the LIFT director about what LIFT can do, what we can do. They're not exclusive. You can be a member of LIFT and participate in Opportunity MKE. The only difference is we ask you, if you're submitting a claim for damages, you only submit one program. But other than that, they work hand in hand. Our incentives are a little bit more generous on the upfront, whereas their loss mitigation damages are a little bit more generous. But so we've been doing direct mailers, public invitations to meetings. We do them hybrid because we know landlords are busy people and they don't want to spend a lot of time with us. So we definitely have been doing them, really just focusing on getting landlords who've worked with the program to provide testimonials and other information. we are very open to modifying what we have done to meet the specific needs of this community. We're very flexible. Beck and I have been doing this for quite some time, and at the end of the day, we want to build something that's going to work for you and what's going to work in this community. I think what's important to note is that of the 107 participants that we have enrolled since October of 2024, we have been successful in placing 18 people in high opportunity in the last year and a month. And of those 18 placements, 6 of them are in West Allis. And so when we're looking at the communities that our clients want to move in, West Allis and Tosa are number 1 and number 2. We tried Tosa first. That was a learning experience. Because it doesn't matter how many landlords we recruit to the table, if their rent amounts are above the payment standard, there's not a whole lot we should do with that. So we have had 1 placement in Tosa in an apartment complex that my young lady and her daughter moved into. But in West Allis, we have so much more luck with affordability, with not as old housing stock. We have been incredibly successful partnering with current landlords that work with CDA and the Housing Authority team here as well, and just really excited about the opportunity to dig in and to recruit more folks to the table, because we've had some really great conversations with landlords about the benefits of this program, the purposes of this program, who are really interested in furthering those goals, which is wildly unheard of in the city. But so these are the engagement package benefits that we have. So there's a bucket of money that goes to the tenants and their support and their applications and their security deposits and all that stuff. And then we have the financial interventions of a $1,250 sign-on bonus just for renting to our people, $750 and $500 for retention payments. So if they're renewed at the end of the first year, $750 and $500. If you refer a new landlord to me, you sign somebody up, you get another $250. And then our $250 loss mitigation fund per unit for mid-lease or end-of-term damages. $2,500.
The referral bonus is to the city.
The referral bonus is if a landlord sends another landlord to me that signs somebody up, we send him or her $250.
And I don't know if you'll, get to this in the slide, I was gonna ask, is it like does the landlord sign a contract with you?
So,
or agreement, or how
we
does
haven't
that
yet negotiated an actual contract, but when it comes to the incentive payment is just automatic. You lease to our people, we pay you that incentive payment. We are just coming up on a year for our folks who haven't had any claims that have been paid. What I anticipate we will be doing is going to be contract with banks, so that if they're submitting a claim for damages, we're going to be executing a contract with those payments. But the incentive payments, the security deposits, all of that is just automatic. And so the way that we do it is once the county approves the affordability standard and they set the inspection, we cut the check for the incentive and the security deposit. So as the rest of the process is ongoing, we've already paid that money to hold the unit with the understanding that if it fails inspection, of course, we pay that money back. We haven't had any issues with that because, we're looking at higher opportunity units. The likelihood that they're going to fail inspection is very small. But so 2 incentives that we have with the sign-on bonus and the loss mitigation are the 2 most frequently cited reasons that people don't rent to Section 82 families. And so what we are attempting to do with these interventions is to take those barriers away. To say, okay, you're worried about this, we've got you covered with, because the lift money for loss mitigation is 3 times market rent. So if you have a tenant who destroys your property and leaves within that first or second year of the tenancy, there's up to 3 times rent that's available for them. But their sign-on bonus is only $500. And then the other thing we use that sign-on bonus for is if that rental amount is just above the payment standard, and in order to get them approved, they've got to negotiate down that rent, we'll increase that incentive payment to make up that difference. Because we want the landlords to be whole. We don't want them to be losing money on this proposition. We understand that this is a business, and that we have this program purposely designed to overcome some of those barriers. But, and then we do ongoing rental coaching with our clients as well as our landlords. So if they have problems with the county, if they have problems with payment, if they have problems with the tenant, I am most likely their first point of contact because I'm much easier to get a hold of than the county. And so we do a lot of dispute resolution when things happen. We've got our hands in that client for the rest of their time with us. So we don't just place a family in a home and say best of luck to you. We're stepping in at a month, we're stepping in at 6 months. We are in constant communication with these folks to bring them into the fold of the rest of the community that we are trying to build for them. But really just looking at how do we support landlords take that first step forward to guarantee rent. When you're talking about what recession politics look like in the rental market, having a guaranteed rental payment from the county is a big benefit, and having those additional financial securities. So you're basically taking away almost all of the financial risk to renting to someone with low income and bad credit, which is most important. I think I've talked fast and loud enough. But I'm happy to take any questions that y'all might have. But really what we're looking to do is to host some, Amy has been absolutely fantastic and has given us a lot of really great ideas about strategies and tactics we can take while we are focusing on the West Allis landlord community specific. But however y'all would want to be involved, whether it's co-hosting, supporting, we are happy to handle 1,000% of the logistics. You just tell us what works for you and we can build it.
Patrick, how has this kind of fallen into sitting on the CA committee? One of the biggest things that's being talked about a lot in new development is, great, we have new development, they're expensive, what about affordable? What about affordable? What about affordable?
Well,
Can this correlate into some,
plays into all that discussion. That's why Amy invited Steve invited them here tonight. Is, we're always trying to find landlords to lease to. We also are looking at project-based vouchers in the Layman School renovation if that becomes available. So there will be opportunities for affordable opportunities there. But I think sometimes our voucher participants also have trouble finding units. I think that's just because of the market demand for housing is impacting those who are at the maybe lower level incomes. Because the market is so strong, people are leasing up everywhere, and there's not a lot of inventory. So, and they need to be in areas usually at the lower incomes where there is transportation services nearby that they can walk to, or a doctor appointment. So that's what makes West Allis very convenient for as affordable housing, is that there's services nearby. So in terms of playing into the broader discussion of affordability, this could bring more tenants to buildings as we strive to get more affordable units. So anytime we work to increase inventory is better, and then they're looking to help people find units that are affordable.
right, I'm thinking, is there a way to like partner with this when we know we might be having a 100 unit coming up in a year that's going to be built, that I don't know if at that time it's appropriate to start talking with the developers about yet, or whoever the leasing company is going to be, to say, here's your resource.
Right.
Let's work something out, like maybe if you tell us out of 100, you're gonna give us 5.
Yeah.
We'll work this out with you,
Yes. So
this
we-
way or another.
Yeah, we just did this with phase 2 and the county, and basically they gave us 15 units in a brand new development that we could work through our base of clients to see who could jump those hurdles. But we've absolutely done that. That's absolutely not an issue. But I think the biggest selling point for increased landlord participation in the voucher program is that is the cheapest, quickest, easiest way to increase affordable housing stock in the community, is to get landlords into this
And they don't have to pay to be in this program.
program. No, we pay that.
Yes,
Madam Chair,
yes.
the $2,500, what did you call it?
Loss mitigation. Yep.
That's similar to the private sector cash for keys.
It's a little bit different in that, if a kiddo breaks a window mid-lease, we can pay to repair it in the middle. So basically, there's $2,500 per unit to make any damage repair or loss vacancy repayment. And it's, really however it needs to be deployed, it can be. But yes, in theory, it would be similar to a cash for keys upon the whole verified damages and all that sort of stuff with security deposit and then whatever's left over. But that's why the claims will be under contract with, meeting all those criteria. Yeah, you bet.
That $1,250 sign-on bonus?
Yep.
It's per unit regardless of the size of the unit?
Correct.
So, but then your minimum size unit, because we get families, is
Yeah.
200?
There are definitely some of my families with kiddos with one kid who have a one bedroom just because the county's
I understand.
room size is silly. But the $1,250 is a minimum. So we have approved up to, I think, $2,500 for a 4-bedroom duplex in Shorewood, because in order to get the rent down to where it needed to be.
Makes sense.
Exactly. So we have the flexibility with Hudson County to increase that $1,250, but the $1,250 is going to be a minimum for whatever size, whatever unit, whether it's affordable, not affordable. You just get that payment for these affordables.
And even if we're using the sign-on bonus to get that rent to an affordable amount, I mean, the housing providers are still benefiting from the retention payments, from the security loss mitigation fund.
Yeah. It's basically $2,500 over the first 3 years of the lease is what they're getting.
And I'm sorry, what was the minimum term on the lease?
12 months.
12 months.
Chair. And I'm assuming some of the, you guys are pre-screening the client list, so that's also where
That's a great question. I receive referrals from the county once a month for every family who's up for recertification. So we start working with folks for 4 months before they're ready to move. They are self-selecting to our program. It is completely voluntary, and so we do point touches from phone calls, emails, as well as mailers about the orientation sessions we have for that time period, and then whoever shows up is whoever shows up.
Just for clarification, so when people are on the rent assistance program, they have to get recertified every year. So we double check their incomes, we do criminal background checks, and that's a housing authority responsibility. So then they probably are referred to the program from there. So like Amy and her team, Jackie and Rob up there will do all the recertifications of the over 500 housing units that we have in our program. Every month there's a group that goes through that recertification process. But it's several months before they're actually renewed. And then at that point they can be referred.
I was just thinking that that's another benefit to the landlord, some steps that they don't have to take, because all that has been checked off.
And I do a very good job ensuring when they say the criteria is know this, know that, we don't apply for it. You know, there are enough challenges with my clients looking at, you know, having food share either sole income, meeting that 3.5 amount for income for the household. We're never going to get there. But we have been successful in moving folks away from that standard application criteria to be looking, the LIFT program specifically targets removing some of those barriers for their clients. So Alexi's contract has basically, you're not sticking to the same criteria for this client program, you're not looking at criminal background in the same way that you would with your private application market. We don't really do any of that, and we mostly do it internally on our end because, you know, we want to be
What if during a lease agreement, the landlord reaches out that they're just having problems with the tenant, police calls, whatever it might be, is it still the landlord's responsibility to then legally evict them through the legal eviction process, or do you
We're
want
never going to let
to?
you do that part. We're never going to let it. We moved a young lady in 3 months ago, and we moved her out again 6 days later. So our goal is not to force an issue if it's not working. It's to find another solution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, yes. What are, and this may be a better question for Amy, I'm not really sure. Do
you have specific requirements for people you work with? I mean, like you said, their sole income could be this or this, and obviously background checks are a requirement, you know, criminal checks and things like that, but do you have other criteria?
Nope, we send who the county sends us. We take who the county sends us.
Okay, so there's no, like, do they have to be applying for jobs, do they have to be doing this, kind of thing?
Amy can answer that, 'cause I think they also have to be.
Yeah, you have to be income eligible and pass the background check in order to be a program participant.
And we don't worry about any of those things because that's already been done by the time they come.
Amy does it.
Yeah.
Is there any further, this is just kind of a discussion item. Is there any further questions?
We're just really happy to be here.
It was a great presentation. I think that there's definitely a need for this in our city and looking forward to how we can further partner, and I'm sure we'll hear from Amy and others about where some of that goes.
We will be following up with electronic copies of the materials that we brought, a copy of the presentation. We'll link to the video that has interviews of our participants that were placed in TOSA and other communities. But yeah, I mean, we are looking to plan landlord recruitment events coming up in the first quarter of 2026. I personally will be coordinating those. I'm really excited about this, I just have to say, because I was a young family in Wauwatosa. My son graduated in West Allis, my son graduated from Nathan Hale. I mean, I can speak to our families, and I understand, you know, the benefits that living in a community like West Allis can really bring to a family and a child. So we are going to be following up with additional information about recruiting landlords and events and offering them opportunities to participate in any way that you feel able to do.
Thank you for your time.
Awesome. And gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, number 42, Communication and Economic Development 2025 Annual Business Survey. For discussion purposes only. Patrick?
Madam Chair and members of the council, tonight we have Carson Cofield here tonight. He's going to highlight, this is I think our third or fourth year doing the business survey of our community. We see how we reach our business communities by a lot of businesses have signed up to get involved in the newsletter. It's also the prospects, etc. Those looking to open a business here. And there's some really good data that came out of this year's survey. We did a little bit more prompts for short feedback. And I think, you know, looking at it as a team, our economic development team, our goal has been 85% or higher favorable place to do business. Before I go any further, I'm going to turn it over to Carson, and he can kind of talk about the results where we ended this year. And I think it's just something for the council to be very proud of. The mayor, I know, is proud of these results, and it just shows all the hard work that's going on, what's happening in the business community.
Thank you, Patrick. And to kind of piggyback off that, just for brevity through a little bit of the summary, we didn't go into a lot of the detail for the short answer responses that we received, but I believe in the packet that you got as part of the agenda.
Yeah.
It has it's quite long and lengthy, but there's
It
a lot.
was an interesting read though.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
It's great to see the feedback that we got. It's all over the map. A lot of positive stuff in there too, though. And so we feel like this year is the most valuable insight that we've gotten from those responses so far. So like Patrick said, we've kind of had a couple benchmarks year over year just to see where we're at. And as you can see on this chart, 94% of the respondents said that they're somewhat satisfied or very satisfied with conducting business here. Obviously great to see. And with that, this response was also 94%, and that was business owners recommending West Allis as a place to do business to other entrepreneurs, which we hear that though with a lot of our businesses where they come to West Allis because they heard from another business owner that's doing great here, which is great to have businesses recruiting other businesses to West Allis. And you might have already or saw on the more extended summary, there was even a section towards the end where we allowed business owners to leave a contact for another business that we should reach out to that might not be here yet. So we thought there was a lot of great insights in there. Another thing we look at is why businesses choose West Allis. Obviously, the location's quite obvious, but we think the diverse community that we have, and then the diverse business mix that we have, it seems year over year those start to move closer to the top. It's also great to see the community reputation make the top 5 as well.
So that community reputation on here moving up is pretty significant. I think it's a result of the vast efforts of the council in branding and changing the message of who we are as West Allis. A few years ago, this would not have been in the top 5. The one thing that changed out of the top 5 over last year was professional services. Mm-hmm. Usually we had crime or police or fire in the top 5, but it's like at 6 or 7. It's not like it's that far out. But it was just nice to see this, and that people celebrate the diversity of what businesses are here and the diversity of our community.
Another question that was new this year was whether West Allis is an easy place to open a business. As you can see, 77%. We still think that's quite high, and for this one we did have a short answer section where those that answered no could kind of elaborate a little bit more. So it's good to get some individual history on some of the hiccups or hurdles that some businesses might have ran into during their process of opening. And I will say we obviously talked to a lot of other communities or economic development staff, and we hear a lot of frustration from other cities and their process as well. So it's not a perfect system, but we feel like we do a pretty good job of helping businesses through that process. I would say the biggest thing that we do is we're very responsive to these entrepreneurs, which other communities aren't like that. We like to put a face to the city and help guide people through that process. So always room for improvement on this one, but we think it's a good benchmark to start with. We did have a couple questions where it gives a further outlook into business planning, and 60% of the respondents said that they were looking to either renovate or expand, which we think that's quite a high number. Keeps us busy as well, looking for larger spaces for these businesses, or helping them through the financial process if they're looking for facade assistance, or they're looking for equipment in another location. So that number was surprisingly high. And then the two biggest issues facing our business community are costs and finding employees, but it seems like that's anywhere, so it's not just in West Allis, but our business owners responded the same way. So then we did ask within the next 2 years, what's staffing looking like at our businesses, and a large majority is looking to add employees. So that's great to see as well. So, and then another kind of unique question we asked is what amenities would business owners like to see us focus on? And we had a wide array. I don't know if on the summary you could see, but it was kind of all over the map. But it was interesting to get their responses on the things that we can continue to work on. So
they did see a strong response about they like the community events, the programming that the city's doing.
And I think we hear that quite a bit with business owners. They might get their start at Chris Kindle, Farmers Market, Food Truck Friday. I mean, we just had a meeting with a business owner a couple weeks ago, and he started at a la carte as a little vendor. Now he's in a retail shop here, and he's looking to buy a building. So it's just those successful community events that city staff plays a part of. It makes a big difference. I thought this was appropriate timing with Jack's presentation upstairs about the need to continue to plan and execute for our pedestrian infrastructure. But a lot of the business owners said that they do feel like West Allis is pedestrian friendly, and we looked up a couple different rankings throughout the last couple weeks, and we do rank second to Milwaukee.
Whose ranking is it?
Redfin?
We looked
Okay,
at.
that's realtors.
I'd say we probably looked at 3 to 5, and it all had us second, which was cool to we'll see.
Second to
Has
Madison.
that number changed?
We're higher.
Over the last few years?
We're higher than Madison.
Who's one?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee?
Yeah. Madison might be just because it's spread out.
Milwaukee.
I'm mostly just curious to see if Lime scooters have affected that.
I think this is the first year that we
This is the first time we asked this question.
we had questions in about traffic,
Yeah, sure.
but this was the first time we had it
Okay.
more focused
This
towards
was
this.
just because it really, like, this was the first year I felt like we really grabbed onto scooters and it was less intrusive than initial rollout here.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see what this is next year.
Yeah.
I hope it's a question we can.
It's definitely a pillar of, even though it's more community oriented, it's an economic thing because I can be able to walk from business to business connections. It's also come up in recent development magazine articles about what tenants are looking for in apartment buildings. They want the walkable, bikeable community so that they can explore. Not all the amenities in the building, but things in the neighborhood to that I can stroll to.
Thank you.
Thanks for all.
And businesses want that for their employees as well.
And that was my last slide, so I'm happy to open up to any questions.
I think that it was very interesting to read the report. I know that you guys all take good feedback into it. I'll say over the years, I believe also the stigma of West Allis has changed, not only from rebranding but from code enforcement.
Agreed.
I think you guys being involved and that hand holding. You could be a coffee shop that is in 700 square foot or is $17.5 million development, but they're getting handheld throughout the process, and that means something to people. So I appreciate the time that you guys take to do that. I think it's key, especially when there's frustrations over plan drawings or potentially code enforcement or not understanding something. I think it really makes a difference. So kudos to all those teams involved to kind of get us to that position.
And in the survey, there's Mr. Chairman. We also see that there's opportunity for us to.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not just, oh, we're great, we're 94%. No.
No, there's definitely
There's
areas.
room for improvement and definitely for further dialogue.
Right, and bringing more education, do all the small businesses know all the grants available right away? Do they know what resources are there? Mayor Mark?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just want to pile on, kudos to staff on this. It's just the way things have transitioned and the way things have moved, and we meet weekly, and we get prospects just in the most random ways, and sometimes it's us out just happening to be in another city and talking to an owner who might have been looking to expand to something similar in the Milwaukee area. Sometimes it's you just get this random Facebook message from a server at one restaurant who knows somebody who's looking to open up another restaurant, and they're looking for this number, 100 square feet to lease, and this many seats, and it's a very scattered recruiting effort, but props to staff for just staying on top of it and trying to keep everything on the radar and just the follow-ups and the creativity. It's a very good reflection on all of the work that you do when you read these numbers. So I just wanna give kudos. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion items? Otherwise, is there anything else to come before economic and development? Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. We're adjourned.
I just texted Steve Share about that. I said, we gotta get the mayor's bike ride and to get this. I didn't have time.
I will call the administration committee to order, seeing all 5 members are present. We have item number 36, considering compensation and performance evaluation data of city officials, deputies / service employees. Who's giving the spiel on this?
Me.
And
That's my statement.
So I'm gonna entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So,
You have to read that out, Marty. I will. Oh, I'm gonna read it out first.
yeah, while we're
Okay. For agenda item number 36, the committee may convene in closed session pursuant to the provisions of section 1985 1C state statutes for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, performance evaluation data, and to take such further action as may be necessary and appropriate after review of the data considered in closed session. This committee may reconvene in open session after the completion of the closed session to consider the balance of the agenda.
I just want to say our presentation was not strategic in any way.